Charlie smiled and said, "Don't get me wrong, Dad. The ethical drama I'm talking about is Jones GN beating Panming. I suggest you prepare your mobile phone and shoot the video and post it on YouTube. There will be a lot of clicks." When Panming heard this, he immediately became furious. He looked at Charlie contemptuously, and said, "You are so funny. It is too late for my son-in-law to be filial to me. How could he hit me?" After finishing talking, he pointed at Jones GN again, and said proudly, "Tell you, my son-in-law, how many times stronger than your rubbish. Do you know how filial my son-in-law is to me? Month just gave me pocket money, it is full 100,000. It's not that I look down on you, can you make 100,000 a year?" Jones GN also sneered, "Charlie, you are really self-defeating. Orville will be here soon. If you don't go away, believe it or not, I will let Orville tear your mouth." "Are you going to make Mr. Orville tear my mouth?" Charlie looked at Jones GN with a look of disbelief. Jones GN sneered and mocked, "Why? Don't you believe it? Do you know what I am related to Mr. Orville?" Charlie shook his head and asked curiously, "Then, what is your relationship with Mr. Orville?" "I'm a good brother of the Master Orville." After Jones GN finished speaking, he asked sharply, "You can call Mr. Orville too?" "Want to be called Mr. Orville?" Charlie smiled and said, "When Mr. Orville comes, you can ask him yourself. He calls him Mr. Orville a brother. Will he dare to agree?" Jones GN looked at Charlie in surprise, and then sneered, "You dare to be disrespectful to the Master Orville? You are done. When the Mr. Orville comes, I will let him tear your mouth." While talking, Jones GN saw Orville stepping in at a glance. The two younger brothers followed Orville, walking with wind and strong momentum. Jones GN hurriedly waved to Mr. Orville, and said excitedly, "Great Mr. Orville, I am here." After speaking, he sneered and said to Charlie, "Charlie, the Master Orville is here, you are dead." Because Charlie was facing the gate, Orville didn't see him when he walked over, and Charlie did not look back. When the Orville came to the front, Jones GN hurriedly said, "Master Orville, there is a stupid bird here who is disrespectful to you. He directly calls you Orville." Orville frowned and was about to behave in a prestige. Turning his head, he suddenly saw Charlie looking at him grimly. He was frightened and asked with a trembling voice, "Wade, Mr. Wade, why are you here?" Everyone on the scene was frightened when he said this. "What's the situation?" The fiercely famous Orville is actually so respectful as Mr. Wade? Charlie is so young, what kind of master can he be? At this moment, Charlie looked at Mr. Orville coldly, and asked sharply, "Mr. Orville, is this your good brother? So majestic. Not only does he keep talking with me, he also says that you will tear me up. Tear my mouth." Orville was shaking all over. Who is Mr. Wade? Mr. Wade is more important than his own father. How could he get Mr. Wade's magical medicine if it weren't for Mr. Wade's appreciation? Moreover, he licked Isaac to death, and Isaac ignored him. Now that he hugged Mr. Wade's thigh, Isaac also began to deliberately support him. This is simply the rhythm to make himself take off. Therefore, Mr. Wade is simply his second parent. This Jones GN is just his own dog. He even dared to bite his reborn parents. What the HLL is this, not looking for death? So he turned his head, glared at Jones GN, and asked in an extremely cold tone, "You dare to offend Mr. Wade?" Jones GN was shocked. They don't know exactly what the situation is now. Why is Orville giving Charlie face so much? Isn't he the son-in-law of his father-in-law's old classmate's home? Father-in-law's old classmate is Popper, who serves as the son-in-law of Popper, which is simply the big golden rag Popper. Why does Orville attach so much importance to a big worthless rag? Just when he hadn't figured out the reason, Orville had already slapped him severely. Snapped. Jones GN's brain was dizzy, and his cheeks immediately swelled up. Great Mr. Orville, why? Jones GN shuddered in shock, and blurted out, "Great Mr. Orville, did I do something wrong?" Orville gritted his teeth and cursed, "You are just a dog. You dare to offend Mr. Wade. You are tired of living, right? Okay. I will drag you to my kennel today and chop up to feed the dogs." Jones GN suddenly felt his brain explode, and he was paralyzed on the ground with fright. As Orville's dogleg, he naturally knew who Orville was. There were already countless people who died at the hands of Orville, and many of them were buried in the belly of those fighting dogs raised by Orville. After that, he knelt on the ground and said while kowtow, "Great Mr. Orville, please forgive me, great lord. I didn't mean it, I didn't know he was your friend." "Friend?" Orville kicked his chest and said sharply, "Mr. Wade is the bright moon in my heart. I only have to look up. How can I be a friend of Mr. Wade?" Orville's words came from the bottom of his heart, and the others were even more shocked when they heard it. Where did Charlie come from? Can Orville be respectful to this point? Pan Ming, who was next to him, was also trembling with fright. Seeing his son-in-law being beaten by Orville, although he was distressed, he was more afraid.